Nearly 100 people paint this scene in watercolour. How different can they be? Which ones do you like and why? Hello, I'm Tim Wilmot, a watercolour painter and tutor. I organise regular online watercolour workshops, and this is a compilation of attendee paintings from last month's online watercolour workshop, where we painted this sunny beach scene in Cancun, Mexico. So most months, or nearly every month, watercolour enthusiasts join me from all over the world to paint along with me for a couple of hours, and I give a step-by-step demo in my particular style and answer your questions along on the event. So this sunny scene, the objective was really trying to get the sense of light, the shapes as well, the shapes of those parasols, figure painting as well. How are you with figures, and also the complexity of all of these tables and chairs. Next, shadow shapes. Look at the way the shadow shapes follow the contour of the sandy beach, and also the colours of shadows. If I zoom in here, to me, look how cool that shadow is compared to maybe that shadow there, which looks a little bit warmer. So trying to inject a little bit of colour, a little bit of vitality into those shadows. So I'm going to go through the attendee paintings one by one and give a short little critique on each one. Of course, trying to stay on the positive side. Please, as I go through, it's just my own opinion. I might say something you would object to or you think is wrong. But of course, in art, it's sometimes down to the individual, and what I might like, other people may not like. Anyway, that's art for you. What I'm looking for, as I say, is trying to get the sense of the bright day, the shapes of those parasols, the values as well, edges, figures, tables and chairs, shadow colour, composition as well. In the demo, I mentioned a few things I would omit from the painting. For example, the bottom left corner, bottom right corner, these red tables and chairs, and then moving around the parasols to suit the composition, ignoring that kind of shelter there on this jetty that's going out into the sea. But everything else, trying to keep that a good balance to the composition. Now, as I go through the attendee paintings, they are all, of course, taken on their own particular devices. Might be posh cameras or mobile phones, and everyone's going to have different lighting conditions and settings on their device. So please bear that in mind. You might find that some photos might be a little bit lower resolution, maybe a little bit darker, and smaller in size and so on. So just bear that in mind. If you want to take part in future events, please go to my event site, which is crowdcast.io/@TimWilmot. So the @ like the email symbol, TIMWILMOT. Love to see you on a future event. So let me go through my painting, my effort first. So here's mine. I think I've got the essence of the scene. Of course, the dimensions of my paper are more 4:3 rather than a 16:9. So I've had to sort of choose a slightly different view of the scene, but I think I've got everything in. I've achieved my objective of those parasol shapes, the connection of all those shapes, and then the shapes, the parasols going into the distance, some higher than others. The top left-hand corner one here, top right corner, really removing those red tables and chairs, bottom left to bottom right, moving some of the figures around to suit the scene. Quite an important couple were those two on the left-hand side, the lady with the kind of stripy dress and the guy with his shorts. And then the shadow shapes as well, trying to get in those lovely edges, trying to follow the contour of that sandy beach. Mentioning the beach, trying to get in the feeling of that bright day as well, with little dabs of gold or a lighter yellow colour, just to try and emphasise the feeling of that kind of from that part of the world, that sort of silvery sand. But these shadow shapes, just really trying to follow the contour of that sandy beach where it's a well-trodden beach. The edge, trying to get those edges there. And then the colours, not a grey, not a chocolate grey, but I went for the sort of coolish theme and a little bit of dab of colour here and there. A figure lurking in the shadows over here, maybe. And then the seawall over to the right-hand side. Oh, and also beyond the parasols, that jetty going out to sea into the Caribbean, and the colour of that Caribbean water there, and some of those shadows as well. So fairly pleased with my effort, done on the day, live in front of everyone. Let's go through the attendee paintings one by one. Some were done actually with me. I would guess most were done after the event. I know some people actually do a little sketch as they're going along with me, so that they can really just sort of pay attention to the way I'm doing it. And then on these events, you've got access to the recording, and you can play back the recording as many times as you want to. No time limits, never going to expire. Well, not in the foreseeable future anyway. And then they do their painting in their own time. Okay, let's go through them one by one. So first up, Alex, I'm going through this in alphabetical order. I think it makes sense. Anyway, thanks, Alex. Well, you've certainly got some lovely parasol shapes here. A slightly different composition. It's almost like you're looking directly out to sea, and ignore that sort of jetty thing on the right-hand side. Doesn't matter. Lovely groups of people as well. I do like the boat. Looks like a boat there, and some figures on that left-hand side. Maybe some of the figures are a little bit low. We're missing some, unless they're lying down or kneeling down or something like that. So feeling it's a little bit low there. We're missing some of those tables and chairs, but a nice combination of intermingling shadow shapes and beautiful colours in those shadows. Well done, Alex and Anna. Yeah, you certainly captured the colours here. Beautiful colours of the sea, the sand. Maybe with the sand, some of these little marks here, we could get a little bit of a softer edge to them. Just a sort of mixture of hard edges and softer edges. I think that would look better. Good figures. This guy on the right, I think his head's just a little bit too small. Head could be a bit larger there. Beautiful shapes of the parasols, and good shadow shapes as well. Well done, Anna. And Ashley. Very bright with that sand. You've left actually quite a lot of the paper unpainted. I think that works quite well. The sand in that part of the world can be quite light in colour. So you've certainly got that there. Great figures. Maybe just a little bit too much of the white paint here, which, I mean, like there, that's quite thick, that kind of dry brush mark there. But where the white paint is a little bit weaker, we go, and it happens like this for me as well. It goes a little bit milky and a little bit weak, and it sort of goes transparent. You can see what's going on behind there. So I just ease off on the white paint a bit. Great figures though, fantastic figures, and lovely sort of warm colour to those bodies as well. Yeah, well done. Thanks so much, Ashley. And Barb. I like the way we've got a little bit of a slope of those parasols down to the right-hand side. Very effective. Sort of leads your eye in with kind of that shape of the edge of the shadows. And then we've got that kind of general sloping down there. I think it sort of naturally takes your eye down there. Great figures, especially on that left-hand side. Those two, which for me were the two most important ones, get it right. Even though they're on the left-hand side, I think they're quite, they're the largest figures. Important to get those right. Lovely shadow shapes as well. Maybe this figure here could be a little bit stronger. Arms just a little bit longer, maybe. But certainly you capture the scene. I like the dry brush mark with the palm tree there, which would be, yeah, definitely get that. I can't recall whether that was in the photo, but definitely deserves its place there. Well done, Barb. Next up, Bettina. Right, good composition. Maybe the jetty in the distance is a little bit, there's too many sort of itsy bitsy lines in there. I think it's a little bit confusing in this area here. So maybe, what would I do there? Maybe a bigger brush and trying to be less detailed in that middle or background area, Bettina. But coming back, great shapes of those parasols, fantastic shapes. Look at this very expressive dry brush mark here. The pole for this parasol in the top left corner, love it. Really great figures also, particularly all these seated figures. And this couple here, yeah, really good. Lovely shadows on the right-hand side. You've gone really dark with those. Bit of a golden colour to that seawall. Fantastic, well done, Bettina. And Bruce. Might have, I'm not sure, we've got a slight angle of the scene here. I think it's the, yeah, I'm sure if you're, it might be your photo. Maybe if we imagine, everyone, imagine this photo just tilted a few degrees clockwise, all right? I think we've got the right sort of orientation there. Right. Now, I think the parasols could be lighter here to maximize the feeling of light, Bruce, and maybe keep the beach a little bit lighter as well. But I do like the style. There's quite a few soft edges. Maybe there could be a few harder edges. For example, just if I zoom in, just in there, that's quite nice there. You know, a few harder edges around that middle shadow. But zoom back out a bit. I think in this area here, it's a little bit difficult to find out whether it's shadow or whatever's going on there. Yeah, so go in a little bit bolder with those shadows, okay? Like you've done there in that middle area. That figure might be a little bit too small, I reckon, taking into consideration these figures here and the figures going into the middle distance. Yeah, that one could be a little bit bigger. All right, so yeah, think about though getting us a few more lights, I reckon, Bruce. But lovely, I love that colour, sea. That's a fantastic green, that is. Yeah, very Caribbean. Excellent. Christy. Now, I should say that you don't need to paint in my style. The whole point about this, we want a bit of diversity and, you know, different styles getting in there. And Christy certainly has nailed this one with a bit of line and wash. I do like this figure here, maybe a little bit portly, eyeing the scene, sitting down, maybe having his lunch. Lovely couple there. Yeah, nice line and wash, beautiful figures. You've got loads of figures in, different sizes, standing, seated. It's a nice balance of figures, and getting those two on the right-hand side. Bit of light, you know, thinking about attention to detail, a little bit of light on that lady there. I think that works really well. And shadow colours. Still, we get in the shadow colours. Notice with line and wash, we generally don't line. We don't have a line around the shadow shape, but it seems to be the way that most people would do line and wash. Getting a line around main objects, and main figures, and main shapes, but not those shadows. Although, having said that, there's a little bit of a line around there. But I think it works really well. Capture it lovely. Maybe Christy could have gone a bit deeper with the colour on the sea there, just to get that sort of standing out as a contrast with the sand. But beautiful scene. And a nice line of wash. Will we get another line of wash? Well, it's almost close. There's a few lines there. Now, this is one where I reckon this photo is a little bit darker than the actual real thing. I bet Colin W, I think there's a couple of Collins. Colin W's is a bit brighter than this. So just imagine that, everyone. This is a little bit brighter, all right? Lovely parasol shapes. I like the effect of the granulation of the sky there. That's sort of, what is it, cobalt blue, and a few little bits of the paper left showing through. In fact, those little lighter bits here, Colin. If it was me, I'd be very, because of the size of them, I'd be very tempted to try and change them into seabirds, for example. That one there, that could be, you know, we could have a wing there, maybe a wing there. Do you see what I mean? Just change them into seabird type shapes with the lighter bits, their wings catching the light. Anyway, back to yours. Beautiful figures, great shadows. I think this figure here does need that little bit of light on the left hand, on his figure, on his side. But as we're looking at the left hand side, yeah, we don't need that. We want to keep that figure quite dark and almost a little bit sort of mysterious in the shadows there. So yeah, try and not have those lighter edges around objects in the shadows. And another Colin here. Let me just zoom in, or zoom back out. Nice parasol shapes, maybe a little bit too dark with that one there, tiny bit, but I love the shadow shape, the parasol shapes. Good shadow shapes as well. Figure, again, lose that little light bit between the legs. Try and make that all dark. Apart from that, very good figure. Figures could be a bit darker, I reckon, Colin. Particularly these two in the shade here, just a little bit darker, all right? But nice group of figures, going into the distance, keeping it nice and loose with the pier. Good colour for the sky as well. That kind of, almost a little bit of a warmish feeling to that sky. And what's quite effective is that little bit dark there, the contrast between that dark there and that light. Well done, Colin. David J, let's just zoom in here. David J. There we go. Very loose. I like it, David. Yeah. Economy of brush marks. Beautiful brush marks as well. I like all this on the shadows on the right hand side. Very loose brushwork, and then you've gone in a little bit like I do with that, maybe with a smaller brush, some sort of strategic little dark marks there, just to give the impression of something going on, you know, extra tables, chairs, sun lounges, and so on. Great figures as well. I like this guy's hairstyle. Very got a big bold hairstyle, that figure. But yeah, good figures, good shapes of the parasols. Yeah, fantastic. Well done, David. Let's go to Fauzia. I love the colours. Yeah, the blue, the green of the sea, the Caribbean. Not right. A couple of things I'm not convinced about on this one. A little bit too much of the white, I think, Fauzia in the water there. Don't think it needs it. And then maybe too many figures. It looks like maybe there's some kind of gathering going on, or some sort of event, maybe. I don't know if that's your intention. Tiny bit of a slope also. Let's just check the angle. Yeah, a little bit of a start. I think the angle of the shoreline might look a little bit better going up a little bit like that, all right? Which I'm not sure if I pointed that out on the demo, the actual sort of angle of that shoreline. But coming back, beautiful colours in these shadows. Let me zoom in. You've definitely got lots of colours in those shadows, cools and warms. Just ease off on this white paint. I think the main message here is just ease off on the white paint a little bit too much, especially on, in the shadows there. Don't think it needs it. Yeah, but you've certainly got that, the range of values there, the light and shade. Fantastic. And a little bit, I'm sort of 50-50 whether a little chair like that's a lovely chair, but you've got it down in the bottom left corner. Lovely chair. Maybe if that was moved, maybe up there to join these two, all right? That lovely drawn chair, move it up there away from the edge of our composition. Joe. Right, composition. It's nice how you've got the range of figures there almost on the shoreline, and it sort of takes us on a journey down there. But I think there's a little bit of an open space here. I just think it needs maybe here, where would I put something? If it was me, I would put something in here, maybe another figure, and then have the shadows coming out more like that, just to fill in that space a bit more, just a little bit empty there. I love is that a dog? Maybe a dog's out in the sun, having a bit of a sunbathing session. Great figures, good shadow shapes as well, shapes of parasols, leaning parasol here. Yeah, well done, Joe. And John. All right. So, a lot of atmosphere in this. I like the sky. Feels like it's one of those Caribbean weather systems coming over the scene, a sudden downpour of rain. People are diving for cover or gathering their things. Love the figures in that middle area there. Beautiful bunch of figures, especially John. This figure on the left-hand side, grabbing some clothing, bending down just so that he or she doesn't bump their head against the side of the parasol. Lovely. Good parasol umbrella shapes as well. Good combination of those. Lovely composition as regards the angle going down there, from that top right corner. You haven't got that one in the top left. Doesn't need it. Yeah, I think we've got the light on the parasols. Maybe we need to make the beach just a little bit lighter, okay? And that would make the shadows and the figures stand out a bit more. So just think, if you'd have put less effort into the beach, this would have a little bit more impact. Lovely sun lounges, bit of perspective. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going the distance. A guy there taking it easy. Yeah, good figures, John. Well done. Judy. Right, let's just zoom back out again. Right, good composition. Parasols are a little bit too triangular in shape. Need to make them a little bit more shallow, but other than that, good. Got a little bit of a lean. Again, I think we need to imagine a little bit of a anti-clockwise twist to this one. I think that would be better. Good figures here. Lovely shadow shapes. You've definitely gone with that warm. I love that colour in there, bottom right corner. Beautiful. Nothing's really overworked. You've got that transparency still of these different shadows. Maybe with the figures, those two are good. These two figures, they're a little bit too small walking along the shoreline. Perhaps if there was just a little bit more going on over there in the distance, that just might give it some sort of context of the continuity of the beach going on there. Yeah, it's just a little bit confusing there, I think, with that shadow shape and the table. I think with that one, if the table was there, all right, maybe the shadow of that parasol would be a little bit like that, all right? Obviously, that part of the world, the sun is quite high in the sky. But I love all the colours you got on this, especially that bottom right corner. Fantastic. Well done, Judy. Kazim. Now, I reckon on Kazim's photo, it's gone a little bit cool. I bet this is warmer than it actually is. We've got a little bit of a cool shade, cool blues to this one, I reckon. Nice composition. Definitely got the feeling of depth going into the distance. Love the figures. Maybe this guy, the head could be just a little bit larger. All right, but every other figure is really good. I like those two there. Those two, just the right size by the water's edge. Good shadow shapes as well. Figure. Yeah, maybe the shadows are just a little bit overworked here. I would say maybe go in with a bigger brush, all right? And it looks like it's been a bit overworked, that shadow. That shadow there is better. It's just this nearby one here looks a little bit sort of not as fresh as the others, but that shadow there. That shadow better than that shadow. Well done, Kazim and Lauren. Nice and loose. Love the parasol shapes, very good. Figure here, head is a bit too, that's the head there. That's head there, that's just a little bit, that is a bit too big. That head shape should be about that kind of size in there. Actually, what you could do with this, you could put just a little bit of white paint just on the top there, and then do something with that, the darkness, just to imagine that something to do with the background, but just put that little bit of highlight above the head, maybe a little bit on the right shoulder because the light is coming from that right-hand side. That might correct that. I love the figure though. Hands in his pocket, shorts, definitely walking. What would you say? Actually walking towards us because of that curve of the shorts around the knee. It's a great figure. Yeah, all the other figures are fantastic. I would, with some of the figures though, and the tables and chairs, just have a more solid shape, solid colouring to the shadows below the chairs. So we don't have these whiter gaps in there, I would say, Lauren. But really a nice start to it, nice and loose, fresh, great shapes of those parasols. Love this one here. Dry brush marks, fantastic. Lillian. Now this is a different style. I love that sky. My eyes keep going to that sky. Very atmospheric. Yeah, I love it. It's quite. You've got a lot of soft edges here. Not sure whether. I mean, we've got a hard edge. Got a hard edge there. All right, bottom right corner. But everywhere else is quite soft. I think you get away with it in the distance. But maybe if there were just a few harder edges on some things closer to us, that would help. Lovely figures though. Do like those two there. Bit of movement. These two looks like ladies coming towards us. Beautiful. Bit of sense of movement as well. You've gone with a slightly different colour of the beach, more of a sort of reddish, warmish glow to it. I like it. It's a nice. My eyes keep going to that sky. Fantastic sky. Well done, Lillian. Linda. Zoom in here. So Linda probably like me very much that sort of 4x3 orientation. Like a few others, I think with the parasols, they are a little bit too triangular in shape. A little bit. They need to be a bit shallower. Okay. Great figures. Fantastic figures. Those two on the right-hand side, they're a little bit too high for the composition, or those on the left a little bit too low. So try and with a scene like this where we're fairly level, although having said that, the beach of course goes down a little bit to the water's edge, but try and keep on the whole, the hot tops of the heads around that sort of level there. So maybe these two figures on the right hand side, they're brilliant. I love this. I love that hat there. Very good. But they're just a little bit too high in the scene. Yeah, beautiful. Well done, Linda. And I like the beach as well. Nice shadow shapes. Try and connect with these shadows. Again, try and make them a little bit more solid. All right. And bottom right corner, just a little bit slightly overworked there. I mean, the way you've done your shadows here, they're better, Linda. All right. But a nice bright scene. Fantastic. Right, Lynn. All right, it's a bit like Christie's, another liner wash. Works really well. I think it's a lovely, let me just zoom in. There we are. There we go. Parasol shapes, yes, they are generally very good. This one might be a little bit too triangular here, a little bit. I mean, these shapes, these parasol shapes are better. Good figures as well. Love the shadows. Let me zoom in. Love the shadows. Let me zoom in on some of these. Good quality paper. Yeah, and this is the transparency of watercolor, isn't it? Those lovely shapes, connecting these shadows as well. Yeah, very nice. Nice sort of style to it. Next up, Mike, and me having said at the beginning, I didn't bother with the red. For me, it didn't do anything. The red tables and chairs, bottom left or right. Mike's actually included them in. I think because you've actually brought them more into the scene, you get away with it. I would try and with particularly the one on the right hand side here, Mike, I would probably have less of that lighter area around the edges of those shapes. So that bit of light there, that light there, this light section here, I would probably try and have them darker, not so light. But I like everything else. Good figures as well, great figures. Probably try and connect the sort of jetty supports to the jetty, so not that kind of gap that we've got there. I'll try and connect those for me personally. Love the parasol shapes, fantastic. This one across, we've got like a frame across the top of the scene with that big one there. And this lovely shadowy shape of another one coming in from the right. Very effective. Yeah, and a lot more figures, connecting those figures as well. Good figure work. Yeah, fantastic. Well, Mike, I think you got away with the red tables and chairs. I think the Coca-Cola emblem might be missing from those. Right, next one, Norma. Right, I reckon your camera might have gone quite blue on this one. Having said that, I love it. I love that blue. You've actually got a nice contrast of the blue with a little dabs of the warm sort of flesh colour of some of the figures there. Very nice. Well, that figure there is fantastic. Look at the shape of this one. That head, neck going into the garment, the arms, the legs, superb. I was going to say, does it need a shadow? Maybe the beach is sort of going down where that figure's walking, so you probably wouldn't see a lot of the shadow there. But that figure's fantastic. Yeah, really good figures on this one. They stand out. Maybe with this shadow, it looks like you've gone over the shadows twice. I think like that area there is good, but we've got like a shadow within a shadow here, bit of a hard edge on that darker bit there. We'll lose that freshness. Love this though. Look at that little thin line and that lighter, that little shape showing there. Nice loose. Well done. Thanks, Norma. Nydia. Right. Good parasol shapes. Shadows could be a little bit darker, all right, but they are a good shape. to them. Could be darker. Good figures as well. This figure on the right-hand side, very good. Maybe the shoulder's a little bit too, I'm not sure if this lady here works out, but maybe quite chunky in the top part of that person's body. Good parasol shapes, lovely sky. Yeah, you've captured it really well. Nice two slimish figures walking down the beach over there. Yeah, well done. Nice one, Nydia. Pablo. Pablo's really gone to town with the figures here. These two here, looking at each other, different tables, having a chat. Yeah, really nice figures. If you've ever seen Pablo's submissions before, it really does push the actual scene a lot, and he actually changes quite a lot in the composition. And true to form, Pablo's changes. I like that straight line there on the water's edge. Works really well. You've gone for more of a very sort of geometric, almost abstract feeling to it. Definitely a style. I think on the figures, I'm not so sure. I like the faces, but maybe the body's just a little bit too small. The arms are too small. All right. So I would, if it was me, I would say just make the arms a little bit longer, I reckon, with the figures. But it's a nice, a different. I mean, this is what we want. One different interpretation of the scene. Well done, Pablo. Pat, let me just zoom in on Pat's. There we go. Right, we've got a bit of a slope here, Pat, on that jetty. The perspective is good on the fantastic figures, by the way. These figures are superb. I like, actually, these two here. It looks like maybe this is, they're serving food and they're kind of looking over the menu or whatever, what they're going to have to eat. This relaxing figure there. This looked like a female figure there. Those two there. Yeah, super. I think the main thing is it's a bit of a slope. We've got the horizon. We've got the horizon, all right. Fantastic parasol shapes, but they're kind of leaning down that way. I think they would look better either being horizontal or going up. But the main thing is that dark line of the jetty going like that. You could probably get away with it if, how would I correct this? Well, I would have a go by maybe putting in, if you imagine it, everyone, imagine it getting some dark in there, some darkness in there, all right? So that would give us a feeling of the height of the jetty, and then just trying to straighten some of these supports in there, and then the reflections of the yeah, that might correct it a little bit if you can see that. But I think it's a super scene. The beach is fantastic. Those figures are really, really good. Excellent figures. Yeah, well done, Pat. And nice shape of the parasols as well. Well done. Ravi B. I think we've got two. We've got Ravi B and Ravi N. Right, Ravi B. Right, I reckon this one is, the image is a little bit dark. Imagine this to be a little bit lighter, everyone. Nice composition. Figures are brilliant. Your figures are getting a lot better, Ravi. Really, really good. Nice and loose. I think you win the prize for the number of colours we can get into those shadows. Look at that. That sort of, it's almost like gold, a bit of pinky there, cooler up there. What else can we see? A little bit of green on the left-hand side. Love these shadow shapes. Figures, too much white paint, I reckon, on these, in those shadows there. Just ease off in the shadows. Lovely figure there. Your figure works very good on this one. Parasols, could be, that parasol there is good, but maybe in that middle area there, they could be just a little bit bigger, I reckon. Smaller than this one, but a little bit bigger than they are. The sky might be just, the sky looks a little bit sort of gloomy. Perhaps if it was a bit bluer, it would make the scene look a little bit brighter. But I reckon the image of your the image of your painting is a little bit darker than it is. But great figure work. Well done, Ravi. Ravi oh yeah, like the blue of those shadows. Very nice. Again, good figure work. Maybe some of the heads could be a little bit larger. These two people over here having fun on the water's edge. Good shape of those parasols, really nice. Expressive brush marks as well, fantastic. But those shadows are brilliant. Not so sure about these two beds here. Maybe doesn't need it. Those two, they're not really doing it for me down there as such. I think that could all be kind of shadow in there. Great figure though, down there. Well done, Ravi. Rhonda. Zoom in a bit. Yeah, I like the angle of the brush marks in this. If I can explain what I mean, these marks here for the reflections underneath the jetty, and then the sort of horizontal shapes of the shadows, and then within the shadows we've got little bits of darkness, little bits of light. I think it's quite nice. It's a nice pattern. It's a nice sort of repetition of things going on. Figures are fantastic. Very good figures indeed. Maybe this figure on the right-hand side could be, we could merge, I guess it's a guy, could merge him a little bit, his legs into the shadows there. But a really nice, there's a nice start to it. I do like those. I do like the repetition of those lines though. Well done, Rhonda. Roger. Zoom a bit. Oh, it's quite soft, quite light in this one. If that there is a child, maybe make the head a little bit bigger on that one there. Just be careful of figures like these three here. They're all walking towards us, so it looks a little bit ominous, like the old Michael Jackson Thriller video where they're all coming towards us. So just be careful of that. Maybe just alternate them. But they're really great figures, as indeed are the other seated figures as well. I love that lady figure there. Very good with the dress, and these two here. Yeah, I just think the shadows could be a little bit darker. Okay, like the colour. If we go darker with the shadows, Roger, we're going to get more light into the scene. It's light. We've got the lightness, but if you wanted more impact of the light, go darker with those shadows. Okay. Everything else beautiful. It's nice and fresh. Nothing overworked. Yeah, really good figure work. Well done, Roger. And Rosella. Let me zoom in on this one. A bit more. Yeah, nice composition. I think it's a little bit confusing. Maybe my photo wasn't too clear, but the jetty, this kind of area in here, Rosella. I reckon if we took some of those, I know the sea, we got some waves coming in maybe, and then the bottom of those supports, they will be, we might have sort of waves coming in like that. But maybe if, get my drawing tool back again, maybe if we had some stronger poles in there, and then like you've got over on the left hand side, a little bit of that reflection in, connecting with those poles, those supports to the right hand side. That might work a little bit better. All right. Good figure work. Love the figures. Fantastic. Great shadows as well. You've got that the warms and the cools. Fantastic. Just be careful of, not sure if you've gone over the shadow twice there. Just try and keep things fresh, all right? if I zoom back out, yeah, beautiful. Just be careful with the sky. I've got a bit of an unfortunate bloom there. I want to try and get more of a, I guess more of a solid look to that sky. But certainly the feeling of brightness, well done. And Sally, zoom in a bit here. Right, lovely light in here. I like the contrast of the blue shadows, the shapes, the edges of those shadows as well, with the colour of the sand, fantastic. The figures, I'm not sure if you've tried to lift off a little bit of the heads of the figures. It looks like you've got like a hard edge around most of the body of the figures, but then when we come to the head, it's kind of like a bit of a softness going there. That one on the left, I think that one there is superb. Brilliant figure, that lady figure there. But just I think at the tops of their heads, I'm not so sure it works for me. I like that figure there. The figure in the shade, I would be very tempted, if this was me, I'd put in, this figure looks like they're leaning forward slightly and walking away from it. So if I put in, imagine this was a bit of white paint over the shoulders there, that would just accentuate that a little bit more. Love all this here. Look at this granulation. Beautiful. Well done, Sally. Next up, Sandra. Yeah, nice combination of figures and shadows leading us into the scene. I like the shape of these shadows. That shape there, and then that shape there, and that one. It definitely sort of leads us in, as does that. Maybe the jetty could be a bit stronger in the distance, a little bit more chunky. I think it looks like a little bit flimsy to me. Love the shadows as though on the right hand side. Just ease off on that little bit of white paint there, just a tiny bit too much, but nice and loose. Good parasol shapes. You've gone for that softer look, which I think works really well. A soft, bit of a soft edge to that light side where the sun's coming down. That works really well. Good figures. Good seated figures. Excellent. Well done. And Sarah. Yeah, well, look, that's different from Sandra's. Where it looks like we're a little bit sort of lower. I think the perspective here works really well. You've got some figures swimming. I don't think we've got any of those in other submissions. So well done on getting some figures there, having some fun in the sea. So good figure work. Good shadows as well. A little bit overworked, Sarah, with this one here. That's fresher. That's fresher, that one there. Fresh on the right-hand side. But that one just looks a little bit overworked, that one there, I reckon. Maybe the table here could be a little bit more defined. It's got some lighter lines there, not sure what that is. So just try and connect those two figures together with that shadow shape, with the table shape. Great parasols though, particularly that left-hand one, fantastic. Nothing overworked apart from that shadow there. Yeah, really nice, Sarah, well done. And Sylvia. My eyes immediately go to this figure here. That's a superb figure. Dark glasses. Maybe this is the lady that collects some money off people renting these tables and chairs, maybe, I don't know. Good bunch of figures though, especially these two here. This guy here looks like he's got a fine sort of chiseled chin, as does the other guy over there. Yeah, great figure work. Just ease off on that too much white paint there. Sylvia doesn't need it. Good sense of movement of those figures over there. Little bit of overworking, I reckon, in this area here. Again, with the paint might be just a little bit too thick and a bit too much of that white paint. Try and keep it nice and simple in the background there. Good parasol shapes though. Fantastic. Really nice. Yeah, but I do like that figure there on the right-hand side. Well done, Sylvia. Susan. Well, a lot of impact with that blue of the sky. Very loose. Maybe we could have a slightly harder edge. That's quite soft, that edge, Susan, between the umbrella and the sky. Maybe if it was like you got there, just that little corner, all right? I think that's very effective. That I like that one on the right hand side, but maybe just a little bit more of a harder edge there, like we got there. All right, we're immediately getting a sense of that bright light, but it's very atmospheric. You've got a lot of, it's like dark in the top part of the scene, and then a bit lighter lower down. Very loose way that you've done the figures. Not sure what's happening in the bottom right corner here. That bottom right corner. But I do like your figures, especially the way that you got these over here, nice and fresh. You've made every brush mark count. Look at the way that post merges with the shadow, and then I quite like the way that the paint has dried and the pigment has sort of settled around the edge of that shadow and the edge of that pole. But you're thinking about connecting everything together, especially on that left-hand side. Fantastic. Well done, Susan. And Terza. Yep, nice composition. I like the strength of that horizontal line of the parasols there. Good parasol shapes, good figure work. I would say try and make the shadows a little bit more solid again, like a few other people as well. Try and connect them, try and make them a little bit more solid. Good figure work though. This figure in the shadows needs to be a little bit darker around it. Good shadow shapes, good colors of shadows as well. Try and go a little bit more solid. Try and connect this area here. Shadow, figure, table, shadow. Connect them all. But nice and loose. I like it. Well done, Terza. And Vicente, I think Vicente is the last one. Yeah, really nice. Again, you've got a sort of a lot of soft edges to this one, Vicente. And I like the sort of subtle introduction of colours. For example, a yellow there. In the shadows, we've got the blue, a bit of a yellow, the red, that bit of a light glow on that wall, the retaining wall, on the back of the beach there. Yeah, maybe just a little bit too soft in places. Good figure work though. Lovely figures. Nice parasol shapes. Not so sure about this one on the left. I think that needs to be a little bit more symmetrical. And also the horizon coming out. Maybe the horizon would be somewhere like there. So we've got the corner of the parasol like that, and then that would be sky there. I reckon that would look a little bit better. Well done, Vicente. So if you'd like to join me on the next watercolour live online workshop, just go to my event website or the event page, which is Crowdcast. Crowdcast is the system I use. It's not via Facebook or YouTube, and it's on Crowdcast, crowdcast.io /@Tim Wilmot, because I mentioned not YouTube now. Probably YouTube will punish me. Anyway, it's not YouTube, it's Crowdcast, crowdcast.io /@ don't forget the @Tim Wilmot. Be happy to see you on the next event and be included in the group video. Thanks for watching. Remember that my channel, we do have these critiques, but also quite a lot of online tutorials, loads of tutorials up there, and increasingly a number of plein air watercolor tutorials as well. Hopefully catch up with you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.